Yeah, I'm so excited for today's video. I talk so much about bolo brands on this YouTube channel. I even have Instagram daily bolo brands going on in my stories, but what I don't talk about a lot is bread and butter brands, which are brands that a lot of people know about, that I come across often when I'm outsourcing and account for a lot of my sales. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is MOGIBETH, and for those of y'all who are new here, I own a six-figure reselling business selling primarily women's clothing on places like Poshmark and eBay. And like I said, in today's video, we are talking about bread and butter brands, which is a term that gets thrown around a lot in the reselling community. And it basically just means the brands that make up a substantial portion of your sales, the ones that you're selling commonly because you're coming across them often in the thrift store or wherever you choose to source. So I'm discussing 10 bread and butter brands that I love sourcing and love selling right now. In order to come up with these brands, I went over all of my data from 2020 and year-to-date 2021 on Poshmark only. And during that time period, we have sold 4,499 pieces on Poshmark in just a little less than 2 years, which is a lot. So I had a lot of data to come over, a lot of brands to think about including, but these are 10 that I feel really strongly about based off of what has been happening in my business currently. Some I feel like I want to actually pick up more moving into the future. So we're gonna go down this list alphabetically, and I'm gonna share how many I've sold, what the average sales price of each brand that I've sold based off my experience, my best performing piece by the brand, my worst performing piece by the brand, a noteworthy piece by the brand, and then just some takeaways about selling this brand. So let's jump into it. Okay, so the first brand on this list is Boden. And Boden is one that not every reseller loves picking up, but I still love picking up certain pieces. And this is how it's performed for me. So I've sold 18 pieces over that time period, 2020 and 2021. The average sales price for me has been $42.17, which is great. Boden is a mail order or catalog brand. It's based out of the UK. It's something that's really popular amongst a more mature audience. And I find that more mature brands tend to have higher ASPs on average. So I feel really good about Boden. My best performing piece was a Pulpero peplum jacket in navy blue. It was new with tag, and I sold it for $75. My worst performing piece, on the other hand, was a pair of shoes that I thrifted. They were the Boden Hillary Slingback. I thrifted them without really thoroughly checking the condition because they were a silver metallic shoe, really cute, but they had a lot of scuffing along the pointy toe. So I sold those for $20, and I was just kind of happy to get my money back, but really I think if those were in better condition, they would have sold for a lot more. And then a noteworthy piece, one that I wanted to share with y'all, is this Boden Amelie, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, ruffle dress in navy floral print. It sold for $52. And the reason I wanted to include this piece is because it exemplifies the perfect piece that I'm kind of looking for when I'm selling Boden. It had the new tag, it was a really cute print, it was a recent piece, and it was more of a statement piece. And that's what I gravitate towards. I really shy away from all the basics by Boden, definitely shy away from older pieces. And how I'm able to differentiate, I'm gonna pop up on the screen here. The older tag has a thicker font and it's not quite as pointy as the newer tag. And so I really try to stick with just the newer tag. And another way that I know if an item is newer by Boden is that they conveniently include the style number in the materials tag. So I can quickly just look it up. If it's a recent piece, it'll be pretty easy to find. If it's an older piece, it won't be very easy to find. So that's another quick way that you can check out Boden when you're checking comps in the thrift store. Okay, moving on, brand number 2 is City Chic. This is a brand I slept on for so long, and it's a brand I love selling now. I just listed a dress from City Chic today, and I've sold 20 pieces by this brand in the past couple years, and my average sales price has been $48.20, which is great. City Chic is a plus size brand based out of Australia that's sold at places like Nordstrom and ASOS, and so it's a pretty popular brand, and I absolutely love selling it. Something that I want to make a note of really quick is that, as y'all know, I do a lot of liquidation. I do a lot of retail arbitrage. I'll pop up the video I did on liquidation on the screen in case you're interested in learning more about it. So a lot of these pieces on this list are going to be new or new at tag, and that means that they're going to have a slightly higher sales price than a pre-owned piece would be on average. So something to keep in mind, my average sales price might be a little bit more inflated than someone who sources just strictly through the thrift store. But every single brand on this list is definitely one that I would pick up at the thrift store as well. So my best performing piece by City Chic was a new at tag City Chic Miss Jessica maxi dress. I've actually sold this dress a few times in different colors, and it does really well, and it sold for $75. My worst performing piece, which is something that I wanted to make note of, is a new City Chic long line notch lapel blazer, which sold for $27, which still really isn't that bad. But it's one of the few pieces that I've sold that isn't a dress. So really I focus on dresses by City Chic. I probably would pass on other categories such as blazers or tops if it was thrifted, especially if it was an older piece. So one noteworthy piece that I wanted to share with y'all is a new at tag City Chic cute girl dress, and it sold for $40, which I was happy with. And the reason I wanted to share with y'all is because even seemingly plain black dresses by this brand sell really well, and they sell fairly quickly. So I just want to make a note of that because that's definitely not the case for a lot of brands. With City Chic, my number one takeaway is just focus on dresses, but I haven't really come across a dress that doesn't perform well by City Chic, so I would say try out different ones. And typically the style name is really easy to find by City Chic as well, so that's another great bonus. Okay, next on the list is Eileen Fisher, and I know not every reseller loves selling Eileen Fisher, but I really do. Eileen Fisher is a designer that really has spearheaded sustainability and makes so many different efforts to really improve the sustainability of their practices and the recycling of materials. She's a fascinating person, and I'll link an interview that I listened to with her down below because it's just a really, really good listen. During this time period, I sold 33 pieces from Eileen Fisher, and my average sales price was $71.24, which is the highest one on this list. And that's another reason why I really, really love selling Eileen Fisher. But my best performing piece was this new at tag Eileen Fisher notch collar cashmere coat that sold for $300. And outerwear by Eileen Fisher does the best in my experience, and not really just short little jackets, but real coats is what I'm talking about. When I first got to Portland, I actually thrifted and sold an alpaca coat that I bought at this little mom and pop thrift store for pretty cheap, and it was one of my favorite sales when I first got here. But my worst performing sale was a pair of shoes, and I think similarly to Boden, I just didn't check the condition very well with these shoes, but they were Eileen Fisher open toe Katniss slides that sold for $32, which still, again, isn't bad. So not upset with that. And then a noteworthy piece that I wanted to share with y'all is this Eileen Fisher organic cotton cropped jumpsuit. This is a piece that I thrifted, and it sold for $60. So I just want to make a note letting y'all know that jumpsuits, in my experience by Eileen Fisher, do really, really well. And I actually picked up a jumpsuit in the Thrift With Me in Austin, which if you haven't checked out, I'll link up on the screen. I haven't listed it yet just because I've been so backlogged with other things, but I'm excited to get that listed and see how it does. Okay, so the next on the list is a brand that's fairly new to me. I only really started selling it because of liquidation, and this brand's performance has really surprised me. So let me know in the comments down below if you sell this brand and what your experience has been with it. But the brand is Eliza J. Eliza J is a brand that's sold at a lot of department stores like Bloomingdale's, Dillard's, Nordstrom, and it's a brand that specializes in dresses. It's one I just passed on for so long my reselling career, and I don't actually have that much experience picking it up in the thrift store. So this is a brand that I put on the list because I really want to start experimenting with picking it up at the thrift store, because I come across it quite frequently. But I think it's definitely important to pick up newer pieces by this brand. I've actually sold 45 Eliza J pieces, and the average sales price has been $44.20. So that's a great average sales price, especially for a brand that I've just been passing on for so long. My best performing piece is no surprise to me. It's the most sophisticated and formal evening wear type piece. It's this new Eliza J ruffle front crystal embellished gown that sold for 80 bucks. So that's a great sale. And then my worst performing piece, I think this was like right when I started selling Eliza J, and I just didn't really know the value of it, but it was this ruffle sheath dress in lavender purple that sold for 25 bucks. And then a noteworthy piece that I wanted to share with y'all is this new tag Eliza J floral ruched chiffon wrap dress that sold 4 times for me for 50 bucks. I think that dress is kind of the quintessential Eliza J piece that I find does really well. It just sells really quickly, really consistently. A floral type wrap sheath dress that's easy to wear. I'm guessing that people who buy Eliza J like to wear them to events, like to wear them to church. It's just kind of a good special occasion type brand, but not too fancy, not too formal wear, but just kind of, you know, Easter, things like that, brunch. Just little outings and gatherings and events. I think it's a good brand for that. So like I said, on this channel, be sure to watch out for me picking up Eliza J in the future at the thrift store, and we can all see how it performs when it's thrifted. And again, if you have any experience with this brand, let me know in the comments down below. Okay, so the next brand on this list is one that is mentioned often in my thrift with me's, and it's one that I do come across quite often actually in Portland, which is lucky, but is the brand Everlane. And Everlane is a direct-to-consumer brand. They're very transparent in their practices, and they actually sell really well-constructed pieces at affordable prices. It's one of my favorite brands to actually own in my wardrobe. In that time period of 2020 and 2021, I've sold 42 pieces by Everlane with an average sales price of $40.79. My best performing piece were a pair of boots that I actually thrifted, and they were Everlane the Boss Booty in Italian leather. If you guys find these boots at the thrift store, definitely pick them up because they sold fairly quickly for me for 85 bucks. And shoes by Everlane do really well for me. They're definitely something that I'm always kind of keeping an eye out for when I'm in the shoe section of the thrift store. So my worst performing piece is one that I typically pass on now, but it is another thrifted piece. It's this Everlane the long sleeve shirt dress in chambray, sold for $15, and it took a while to sell. So chambray in general is just not on trend. I find it's really hard to move anything that's chambray, so I pass on almost all chambray pieces unless it's a maybe, you know, a jumpsuit. I really don't pick up chambray pieces much at all anymore, so I think that's part of the reason why it was also an older style and just not on trend, not in demand. I think I didn't check comps when I purchased that, so if I did, I probably would have passed. A noteworthy piece by Everlane that I wanted to share with y'all is this Everlane the Renew channeled liner quilted jacket. I think I included this in a thrift with me at one point, but I thrifted this at one of my favorite Goodwills here in Portland, and I sold it fairly quickly for 65 bucks. And I wanted to share that because outerwear does really well by Everlane. Shoes and outerwear are my favorite two categories by this brand. I think sweaters do really well, and I do find a fair amount of jeans that sell for $35 to $40 on average, which is good for me, depending on the price that I'm able to get them at. So even though Everlane doesn't retail for a ton of money, it has really good value retention, and so it's a brand that I really like to pick up and sell. Okay, next up on the list is a brand that shows up in a lot of my thrift hauls, and that is Lulu's. And this is also a brand that I steered clear of for a long time, but once I started picking it up, I understood the hype. I really like selling Lulu's, especially certain pieces. I'm particular with Lulu's, and I'll share a little bit about what I like to pick up. So I have sold 43 items from Lulu's over that time period, and the average sales price for this brand is $35.56. My best performing piece is a new tag Lulu's Madeleine V-neck chiffon gown, which sold for $65. My worst performing piece was this pair of Lulu's Sicily cork platform heels that I thrifted, and they sold for 20 bucks, and it took a long time for those to sell. One noteworthy piece that I've sold by Lulu's that I want to share with y'all is this new tag Lulu's Take You There floral maxi dress that sold for $45. And the reason that I wanted to share that with y'all is because really the category that does well by this brand, and this is a lot of brands on this list, is dresses. I really don't pick up anything Lulu's other than dresses unless I'm maybe shopping at the bins or something like that. Lulu's dresses, especially maxi dresses, perform best, and it's not just the gowns and formal wear and bridesmaid dresses, because a lot of people who are shopping for bridesmaid dresses buy them at Lulu's. It's also floral maxi dresses and more casual maxi dresses that tend to do well for me by this brand as well. I would steer clear of especially shoes by Lulu's, and especially tops by Lulu's. I don't have a ton of experience with sweaters by Lulu's, but I would be cautious about that category too. Mini dresses don't perform as well as maxi dresses, but certain ones can sell quickly for pretty good prices. But really the sweet spot of Lulu's, and the thing that I come across most often by this brand in the thrift store, is maxi dresses. And for whatever reason, I think maybe because it's fairly affordable, I find a lot of new tag Lulu's here in Portland at Goodwill. So I'm lucky in that regard, and I pick it up all the time, and I really like selling it. It tends to sell fairly quickly too. So the next brand on this list is another one that shows up in almost every single one of my thrift with me's, and that is Madewell. Madewell is probably my bread and butter brand. It's one that I love selling, I love picking up, especially certain categories. So I have sold 230 pieces by Madewell over that time period. That's a lot of Madewell to sell, and my average sales price has been $37.45, so that's not too bad. My best performing piece was from Retail Arbitrage. I bought a bunch of these parkas, and it turned out to be a great investment because they all sold fairly quickly for a good return, and they were these new tag Madewell Bedford convertible faux fur parkas. Sold this one for $180. My worst performing piece was from liquidation. It was this new Madewell Whisper cotton V-neck pocket tank. I would never thrift a pocket tank by Madewell and sell it because the resale value is just so low. I sold this one for $9. And then a noteworthy piece that I wanted to share was this Madewell petite skinny denim overalls that I thrifted, and if I can find the thrift with me that I found these in, I'll link it up on the screen. I sold these for $72. I've actually sold this exact piece twice. One time I purchased it at Goodwill and I sold it for $72, and one time I purchased it at Crossroads, which is a buy-sell trade store here, and I sold it for $75. So this is a piece that I'm willing to pay up for. It performs consistently for me. Another similar type of piece I'd be willing to pay up for by Madewell, other than good outerwear and really good boots, is maternity jeans. Maternity jeans just tend to do really well. But Madewell is actually a brand in which you can do retail arbitrage. I'll pop up this Instagram story that I shared, I think just last weekend. I went into a Madewell with my mom in downtown Portland, and I found these boots that they were selling for $9.99, and they were saying, oh, it's final sale. I don't care. They were in excellent new condition, and they retailed for $210. So I was really excited to find them, snag them, and I'm going to list them over on Poshmark and eBay and do a little retail arbitrage. But I actually talked a little bit more about Madewell in my video of 15 items that are selling quickly for me right now, and I'll link that video up on the screen. It's a really good one to watch alongside this one because it's similar type of information. Accessories and purses do really well by Madewell. Shoes, outerwear, maxi dresses, newer maxi dresses, and then jeans do really well. But I really skip on things like tops, skirts, mini dresses, they just for whatever reason don't have a good resale value. And then sweaters I'll sometimes pick up if it's in excellent condition, it's a new style, and get it for the right price. But I love Madewell, and it is definitely a substantial portion of my sales and my reselling business. So the next brand on this list is similar to Eliza J in that I really skipped on this brand for the most part entirely until I started doing liquidation. And that's kind of a cool thing about liquidation. You get exposed to brands you would otherwise just not really either know about or would know the resale value, because it forces you to sell brands that you wouldn't otherwise sell. But this brand is NYDJ, or Not Your Daughter's Jeans, that they've shortened down to that acronym. And this is definitely a more mature brand, but it's actually performed really well for me over the past year or so. So I have sold 21 pieces by NYDJ, and my average sales price is $42.67. So I'm actually really happy about that. My best performing piece is this new NYDJ Sherry denim blue jean, and I sold it for $70. My worst performing piece is a new tag NYDJ Maryland Capri jean in white, and those sold for $24. But one noteworthy piece that I wanted to share was this new tag NYDJ Maryland jeans in a 4 petite that I sold for $70. And I just have a lot of experience selling the Maryland jean in the color black, and so I just wanted to share with y'all that it does perform really well for me. So if you come across it in the thrift store, especially if it's new tag or it's in really excellent condition, you might want to pick it up. Something to note about NYDJ is they have a new tag and an older tag, and I'll just pop them up on the screen so you can see the difference, but I definitely gravitate toward the new tag. I have actually started picking up more and more NYDJ at the thrift store and incorporating it, especially when it's new tag, which I've actually come across a few times so far. So it's definitely something that I want to incorporate more and more, but I really stick with just black and blue jeans by this brand. I don't pick up any other category other than jeans, and I also don't pick up white jeans or any color denim. So that's something potentially to keep in mind when you're choosing what NYDJ pieces to source. Okay, the next two on this list I've also mentioned in that 15 items that are selling for me quickly, but I just wanted to dive a little bit deeper into these brands. So the next one on this list is SPANX. And SPANX I've sold 49 times in that time period of 2020 and 2021. And the average sales price for this brand for me has been $51.56, which is great. My best performing piece by this brand is actually a new SPANX Suit Your Fancy plunge bodysuit that I sold for 80 bucks. I think that sold either same day or next day. It was so fast. My worst performing piece that I definitely wanted to tell you all about were these SPANX Assets Ponte Knit leggings. I'm pretty sure I thrifted these and they sold for 20 bucks. And the reason I wanted to mention this is because the sub brand or sub line within SPANX of SPANX Assets, it retails for less and it resells for less. And so unless you get it for really cheap, I'd probably actually skip the Assets by SPANX. One noteworthy piece, which is something I mentioned in that video, is the new SPANX faux leather high-rise leggings. I sold these for 70 bucks. I've actually sold these so many times and they sell so well, and I've thrifted them several times. And just for whatever reason, faux leather leggings by SPANX sells really well. So this is a brand that I actually think is great to have on this list because SPANX is something that I think you could find across the country and it just sells really well. I find that the shapewear, certain pieces especially like bodysuits, sell really well. I think I just shipped out another SPANX bodysuit today that I thrifted. I think that was for 40 bucks. That was just a really good sale, especially since shapewear is something that typically doesn't cost a lot at the thrift store. And then the leggings do really well by SPANX. And not just black or faux leather leggings, but the jean leggings or jeggings do really well by SPANX. But those are the things I really like picking up by SPANX, and I think it's definitely something that you can find in your thrift store. So be on the lookout for that bread and butter brand. Okay, the last brand on this list is one that people have mixed luck with, and you kind of have to do a little bit of research on this brand and really kind of understand it because there's just so many pieces by this brand that exist in the world, and that is Zara. And I'm sure y'all are familiar with Zara. It's in a lot of malls across the country, and it's an international brand as well. It's a brand that started in Spain. It's a fast fashion brand, so they're putting out a lot of pieces every week. But this is a brand that a lot of bloggers and influencers gravitate towards because they create trendy pieces for relatively less money than, you know, designer pieces. But it retails for enough money for it to be resellable. Some other fast fashion brands like Forever 21 or Shein, or however you pronounce that, that's not really the case, or H&M really. But Zara has pieces that retail in the $100, $200 range, so you can definitely resell it for good money. I've sold 33 pieces by Zara, and my average sales price, it is the lowest on the list, but my average sales price is $33.66. My best performing piece was a Zara midi printed button-up shirt dress that I sold for 80 bucks, and I'm pretty sure it sold same day, and it was a blogger favorite, and it just performed really, really well. And I checked comps on it before I purchased it. My worst performing piece was one I bought a long time ago. It sat forever. It's definitely not one I would pick up anymore. And it was this Zara ruffle off the shoulder gingham mini dress, and it sold for $14. And then a noteworthy piece that I want to share with y'all is this Zara Croc platform sandal, and it sold for $45 in a short period of time. And the reason I wanted to share that with y'all is because Zara shoes is actually one of my favorite categories to pick up within this brand, and especially really kind of substantial pieces, ones that are heavy or have chunky platforms or made from good materials or just have a lot of really interesting and unique design elements. I will gravitate towards picking up shoes if they kind of fit one of those prerequisites. In my Poshmark reseller course, I talk a lot about research and conducting research as a reseller, and everyone who's taken the course says it's their favorite module. And there are several different ways of conducting research. And if you're interested in taking that course, I'll link it down in the description below, or you can just go to mogibeth.com. But something that I've stumbled across while doing research on this brand is an Instagram account that I wanted to share with y'all, and it's called Zara Finds 2021. I'll link it down in the description below. But what it does is it just shows different influencers wearing different Zara pieces, and so you can kind of stay up to date with what influencers are gravitating towards and wearing, and these are the ones that are blogger favorites and are typically going to sell the fastest and for the highest amount of money. So with Zara, because it's such a trend focused brand, it's really important to pick up pieces that are on trend. And so you really want to pick up pieces that are newer. And I'll go ahead and pop up the style of tag that I like picking up the most by Zara. It's definitely a brand in which you have to use a level of discernment. I skip Zara vast majority of the time, but when I do pick it up, I definitely check comps and I make sure that it's definitely an on-trend piece and it's got some unique elements. And if I've done my research well enough, then I can really kind of spot that out pretty quickly. That is it for the 10 bread and butter brands video. I hope y'all found this helpful in some way. Let me know in the comments down below, what's a bread and butter brand that you love selling that would definitely be on this list that I didn't include? There are definitely other brands that make up a good amount of my sales that I didn't include, like Free People and Anthropologie, but I just wanted to talk more about ones that I'm really loving selling right now and really looking for in the thrift store right now. So let me know your favorite brands in the comment section. But if you haven't already, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will see y'all in the next one. Okay, love y'all. Bye.